Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. Want to say hello to all the Pewter people that are joining us today for a Monday edition of the Pewter Report podcast. No, it is not a victory Monday because the Bucs fell short 27-14 to the San Francisco 49ers, but it is a roll call Monday, which we do every Monday at 4:20. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And, this Monday episode, I would say sometimes you're still thinking about the last game that the Bucs just played. Sometimes you just want to move it forward. I think this week is just a move it forward type of thing. Yep. The 49ers are in the rearview mirror, so we'll get into a little bit more from Todd Bowles and Antoine Winfield Jr. today as well. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is SR Scott Reynolds from PewterReport.com. Scott, we spoke to Todd Bowles, and his message is still the same. He's going to defend his guys to the very, very bitter end, no matter how good or bad they play.
It's his choice. I mean, he's the head coach. He gets to determine who plays and how much and what defense he wants to run and all that. And if he wants to go down with the ship, he can. That's his prerogative. I've seen it before. This is year 28 for me covering this team, and I've seen coaches make the same mistake that he's making right now. And I don't wish him to be fired. I don't have any skin in the game. I've gotten along with every coach except for one. And, I don't mind Todd Bowles sticking around. I don't mind working with the new head coach. Same with the general manager. I've done it. We've done it, Matt, for, you've been here for a couple of years where there've been some different coaches here. But at the same time, when we say our opinions and offer suggestions, whether it's on podcasts or whether it's in video form or whether it's in a column or a story form, and they don't want to take the advice and do that, and ends up costing them their job, okay, well, that's on them. I'm a big believer in personal accountability, and I don't think that Todd is doing himself or this team any favors with rotating some of these edge rushers, especially when you have a guy like YaYa Diaby, who is bursting on the scene now and needs more reps to get better. Oh, and by the way, the more you play him, it seems like the more plays he makes. And so that's kind of the theme today. We talked about it with Todd. We'll get into some video in a minute. We can answer questions. We can rehash the loss yesterday. That's fine. That was kind of yesterday's podcast. I agree with you, Matt. Let's look forward a little bit. Just to set the table for this week, it's Thanksgiving, and we're going to be working on Thanksgiving in terms of writing some stories covering this team because there will be a practice on Thursday. We're not going to do a podcast on Thursday, though. So the podcast this week will be today's. We'll have our standard preview show on Wednesday, Bucs versus Colts at Indianapolis. That'll be Wednesday show at 4:00. We're taking off Thanksgiving evening to be with our families and to have dinner and watch a little football and slip into a turkey-induced coma. And then we'll have content again Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but only the podcast this week, Monday and Wednesday. And then we'll have our pre and post game and in-game podcast, which is Pewter Game Day on Sunday.
Yeah, to get back to your point about I see people in the comments saying about YaYa Diaby is, no shocker. The more he plays, the better that he is going to be. And why I think it's even more important for YaYa specifically is he's built from stone. It's unbelievable the specimen that he is. But YaYa right now, the best part of his game is just his bull rush. He hasn't fully developed an arsenal of pass rushing moves, but he's still getting to the quarterback. He has 4 sacks in his last 5 games. And realistically, he hasn't really been getting a ton of playing time until the last 3 games. So we are just at the mere surface of what YaYa Diaby is going to be able to do for this team. The ship has sailed for Joe Tryon-Shoyinka because he was the guy that was the physical specimen.
That's right.
But even he wasn't putting up the production that YaYa has brought to the team over the past couple of weeks. And if you want to say that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, he does other things well, he's solid in the run game, sure, absolutely. But your edge rushers, the guy that you draft as a first-round pick, albeit the last pick of the first round, that's a guy that you expect to do more than just being solid in stopping the run and having good outside contain, which Joe Tryon-Shoyinka does.
Yeah.
But It's been too few and far between, and it's something that we go back to over and over and over again. But Bowles has to. I don't understand his undying loyalty to so many guys on this team, because his undying loyalty is going to have him die as a head coach, because
Yeah.
he's not going to be a head coach after the season if he just continues to trot out Joe Tryanchenko. If he continues
Yeah.
to not play the guys that have been the most effective on this team. I get what Todd Bowles was saying today when asked about Marquise Watts. Marquise Watts only played 3 snaps in the game. And he's like, well, if you play a guy twice, he gets sacks. It doesn't mean he's going to play 55% of the time. But what is he getting from Joe
Right.
Tryanchenko that warrants JTS playing all this time? If
Exactly.
you look at some of the snaps of Shaq Barrett too, fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, because they're the Bucs' most consistent pass rush. The guys that are making quarterbacks stress out in the pocket, it's their interior guys with Kalijah Kancey
Right.
and Vita Vea. They're not getting it at all from the outside linebackers. So why not mix it up? I don't understand this. Like, oh, well, like Todd Bowles is the anti-Wally Pipp. He's the anti, like someone else comes in and let's just have this guy perform at a high level. Like, nah, you had something good.
Yeah.
And you just toss it to the side. And I'll say this one last time. I said it on other publications as well. Brock Purdy had a perfect passer rating.
That's right.
Okay. It was not like the Bucs were getting stops left and right. They had a good first quarter. That's when Levante got a sack. That's when Vita Vea got a sack.
Yep.
After that, it was, he dog walked the Bucs defense for the rest of the game.
He did. And I think the thing too is there has to be that return on investment, right? If I'm going to give you this many plays, I'm expecting plays in return, meaning snaps. If you're going to play this many snaps, I expect you to be productive when you're out there. Sometimes being productive is filling your gap, right? And forcing and bouncing a run outside. Sometimes you're the setup man, right? If it's a TE stunt, right? And you're the defensive tackle, you're looping in and you're trying to free up that end on the outside, and it's reversed with an ET stunt, which is end tackle. What I was a little, I guess, perturbed about is this dogma that Todd Bowles has, which says, well, we're going to play all 4 guys, meaning starters JTS and Shaq Barrett, and then reserves YaYa, Diaby, and Anthony Nelson. Okay, and that's fine. Play 4 guys, but you don't have to have a rotation that's set in stone. And I do understand where Bowles made one point, which is it's not like Diaby started off with 2 sacks in the first 2 plays, right? We're like, oh, he's got the hot hand. The other sack came later on, and I understand that. But at some point in time, though, you have to realize, what is Joe Tryanchenko producing out there on the field? No tackles for loss, no quarterback hits, not touching the quarterback, and no pressures and no sacks.
You and I had the same amount of stats as Joe Tryanchenko yesterday.
We did.
So congrats to you.
And you too, Matt. I mean, a hell of a game. But my issue is, at some point in time, you have to sit there and say, this is 3rd down, right? And we need our best guy out there. And I don't care if he's platooning with Anthony Nelson. We're going to put Shaq Barrett and YaYa Diaby out there at the same time. And that's what you have to be able to have, is not this rigid, well, it's your series. This isn't like hockey where it's the 3rd line shift, right? Now, 3rd line gets out there and has the series. It doesn't have to be that way. You can play whoever you want to play on any given downs. And I just think it's a little stupid to have a set in stone, rigid, these are the guys we're playing for this series and all this. At any point in time, you need your best players out there. If all of a sudden it's a holding penalty, it sets up 3rd and 20. I want YaYa Diaby out there on 3rd and 20, regardless of whether he just came off the field or whether he's waiting his turn or whatever. That to me is smart football, is getting your best players in position to win, regardless of whether it's their turn to play or not. And I might have said this on the podcast last night. I'm tired. I've had 2 Celsius today. Thankfully, the second one is just as strong as the first one, and I'm all amped up right now. But, Matt, they don't rotate their offensive linemen, right? Yep. You don't see Baker Mayfield having to have a wave with Kyle Trask, right? Typically, your corners play every down. It's not like you're platooning your corners. So the excuse of, well, we want to keep our guys fresh, so we rotate our edge rushers. You don't need to do that. These are paid professionals. These are athletes. in their prime of their careers, maybe except for Shaq Barrett. You can play YaYa Diaby every single snap if you want to on defense. It's just, we're talking 60 snaps, right? He's built for this. Tristan Wirfs is built to play every down. So is Cody Mauch and Luke Gedeke. And so to me, I don't know. I think it's asinine to sit there and not have a good feel for your personnel at this stage of the game and not playing your best pass rushers. And here's the thing. Play YaYa Diaby more. I'm going to bet with what I've seen so far that you're actually going to get more out of him by playing him more.
I think there should be a rule. If you're going to post video on your social media of you working out, that contractually obligates you to play an entire game of football.
Yes.
If the coaching staff requires it of you. And that's kind of like where we've reached the point with Joe Tryanchenko. We know what we are getting out of JTS. Now, if JTS was that third outside linebacker, the Anthony Nelson role, I'd be like, all right, JTS is fine in the role that he's in as the third string outside linebacker, but it's just been not enough. It hasn't been enough from, last season was really supposed to be that breakout year for him. Yeah. It never rang through. And unfortunately it's not again this season. And YaYa quickly has made an impact when he's been able to play more. So let's get to this video from Todd Bowles. Scott, you had asked him, why is JTS playing more than YaYa?
Right. Snap counts and the production, right? You get Joe Tryanchenko had 34 plays, did not even record a single statistic, didn't even get a quarterback pressure. And someone like YaYa Diaby comes in, 21 plays, makes tackle for loss, couple sacks, and yet played significantly less. What's the justification for giving Joe Tryanchenko that many snaps when nothing's happening on the field, and someone like Diaby comes in who's making some splash plays and having more of an impact in your defense?
Well, we do different things a lot of times with a lot of people on there. We don't have justification for it when we rotate our guys. Our stats are going to always look different for different guys. YaYa had a lot of production yesterday. I'm happy he did. He plays a lot. He'll play more for us.
But yesterday, when you look at what's happening in the game, right? Don't you want your best players on the field more in certain those instances? Don't you want to go with the hotter hand, somebody who's affecting the offense more?
He didn't get them all in the first quarter. We say, let's stay with him. He's on a 50-point night like basketball. He got him throughout the game, and he got him week in and week out. He's been making some splash plays, but understanding the scheme is way more important than what we have to do as well, and he's coming along with that. We're fine at the pace we have him in, and we have a plan for him.
The plan is we're going to develop him for the next head coach because I'm going to make these personnel decisions that are going to cost me my job. Okay, Todd Bowles, it's on you. Personal accountability, man.
And this is like more of an NFL thing than this specific situation with YaYa Diaby. But why is it for most teams when they draft a quarterback, and this is your franchise quarterback, your QB of the future, a lot of the times they just throw that QB into the fire right away and say, this is how you're going to learn. You may struggle
sink or swim
your first season in the NFL, but you're going to get all this game rep and all this experience at the NFL level. Why is it only like specific to quarterbacks? Why can't they do it with YaYa Diaby or other positions? That I don't know. I don't understand that line of thinking.
I don't know enough about the situation here, but I've got some people that really know the Cowboys really well and follow that organization closely. And I've not heard a lot of great things about George Edwards. And there's a reason why George Edwards is not in Dallas anymore. And I think that this team maybe was hoodwinked a little bit into thinking, well, maybe George Edwards comes here and does for Joe Tryanchenko what he did for Micah Parsons. And I think Micah Parsons is just really great. I think he's really, really good on his own. And I'm not saying that nobody needed any coaching. I've got kind of a damning story I could share, and I'm debating whether I should or not. It's about YaYa Diaby. I'm going to hold off on it now, but I mean, it's really damning for George Edwards as his position coach. And it's not really it's not like YaYa's throwing him under the bus or anything. I don't want to create that impression at all. It's what I heard or what I didn't hear was stunning to me. I'm
leaving a teaser for the.
I know, and I'm sorry. I'm not going to share it at this time, but because I have to provide more context for it to even make sense. And it's just damning for George Edwards. I just don't think he's a good assistant coach, and I think maybe this head coach listens to him too much. And I think George Edwards maybe has more to do with this defensive end or outside linebacker rotation. It's just not good.
Yeah, the overall discussion about the assistant coaches has loomed larger and larger, whether it's, Nick Rapone being there for too long, or same with Kevin Ross or Goody and Gilbert, who have been there for a while.
Yeah.
Although I thought, run blocking has been a fiasco for 2 seasons now, but pass blocking wise, I think the Bucs offensive line
they're really good. They're a good pass protection group for sure. We see some super chats here. Let's get to a couple of these real quick.
Yeah.
And then we'll do roll call at 4:20.
Shout out to Zach Jarvis. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Great comment. Devin White looks like Betty White out there. R.I.P. Betty White.
Yeah.
99 years old. Lived a very long time. But Devin needs a Snickers, right? That's the commercial. Betty White's out there. They eat the Snickers.
Oh my God.
The lack of hustle, and Todd Bowles got asked about this too, and we have the video. We'll play it at some point during the show today. But the lack of hustle, and of course Todd tried defending Devin on it, but you got to sprint your ass off to get over to the other side. Yes, it was a well-designed play by San Fran, but maybe they designed it because they knew Devin White wasn't going to get over there. I don't necessarily know, but just again, the most damning tell of it all is what you talked about earlier and on the show previously, that Devin played a whole game, 100% of the snaps, and had 3 tackles. And Servastier Dennis, in 17 snaps, had 2 tackles.
Yeah.
It's an effort thing. It really is an effort thing.
It is. And Servastier missed 2 tackles as well. It's not like he came in and lit it up. And I have no idea if Servastier Dennis is going to be a starting caliber inside linebacker, or a guy who's as good as or better or worse than KJ Britt. I have no idea. But you know what? I kind of want to find out. Right. I'm at the point where I'm ready to see better inside linebacker play. And the reason I say that is I'm old enough to know what it looks like. I came in 1995. Hardy Nickerson was the guy here. Hardy Nickerson, right?
Yeah.
Derek Brooks, Shelton Quarles, Levante David. I know what good inside linebacker play looks like. I've seen it, right? I've seen it. And those 4 guys, Devin White is not even in the conversation to be in the class of those guys. Just not even close. And I wish no ill will towards Devin White. I was listen, we had him in 4 out of our 5 mock drafts in 2019. We wanted the Bucs to draft him. It's a perfect fit for this Todd Bowles defense. And in 2019, he had a really good, promising rookie year, very splashy player. Same thing in 2020. And just the last 2 years, maybe the last 2.5 years, the production has just not been there. And the effort has not been there. And it's kind of baffling and befuddling. And, it's going to end up costing people their jobs. And it's a shame. But again, it's Todd Bowles decides who plays and how much. So ultimately it's on him.
Well, he's pushing all the wrong buttons, but we push the right buttons on the Pewter Report podcast. And one of the buttons that we push every Monday around 4:20, sometimes we're a little fashionably late, but that's
this
okay.
one.
It's this button. It's roll call, baby. Where you at, Pewter people? For those that may be new to the show and maybe you're tuning in for the first time, we do this every single Monday, win, lose, or draw, or in the off season, we do it as well. Every Monday at 4:20, we do this fun thing called roll call because we love interacting with our fans who we call the Pewter people. It's just another way to get involved with everybody. What we do is one of us will go on a diatribe or rant or whatever. Today, I'll be getting into that. And while I'm talking, if you guys want to start putting in your comments where you're watching the show from, because we have awesome fans from all over, whether it's in the Tampa area or the state of Florida, the U.S., and we have awesome international fans as well. So as I start talking about the Bucs, which I actually want to get into the rookies a little bit more, this year's rookie draft class, Scott will start putting on the screen where everyone's watching from, starting out with Kelly from Ocala. But I want to stick with this rookie draft class and undrafted rookies as well, because no one's going to get them confused by any means with the 2020 class that is highlighted by, or headlined, I should say, by Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield Jr. That's going to go down as one of the best draft classes of all time for the Buccaneers. But I'm quite intrigued, and I think there's a lot of promise with this year's draft class. I mean, you start out with Kalijah Cansey, your first-round pick. And I'm talking a little bit more about the defensive side of the ball, but Cody Mauch, I think, deserves a shout-out as well. Kalijah Cansey misses essentially all of training camp. He misses essentially the first month of the season. He played 11 snaps in that first game against the Vikings, and then that calf injury flared up again.
Yeah.
But he has been a wrecking crew since he came back. Did he have the best game against the 49ers? Right. No. But if you took the positives of what Kalijah Cansey has brought since returning to the lineup and the negatives since Kalijah Cansey has returned, I mean, he's already their second best defensive tackle on the team, and he's knocking on the door of Vita Vea. He's not going to get there yet for a couple of seasons. But this man has been a force, a menace, whatever you want to call it. He's been lights out in the middle. Then you get to YaYa Diaby, a third-round pick, looking like a future starter for this team. Maybe by the end of the season, he's going to become your starter. Yep. He just has so much physicality. He's very just the focus is quite on point that you don't always get from a rookie because, oh, I'm in the NFL and this is great. This is fantastic. But YaYa looks like a guy that can be a solid foundation player for this team. Then you look further, not even players that were drafted. Well, Josh Hayes was drafted, but Josh Hayes gets his first opportunity. He's been great at special teams. Comes in, has to play corner because the corners keep getting injured left and right. Yep. It was only a number of snaps, but Josh Hayes held his own. Kayvon Merriweather, an undrafted free agent out of Iowa, comes in because Ryan Neal is injured and everything else that's going on in the secondary. He comes in and, again, held his own. Was he fantastic? No. But was he a big reason why the Bucs lost were allowed 27 points? No, I don't necessarily think so. Christian Izien has struggled as of late. Yeah. But it's an up and down season. We'll see if he can bounce back. Marquise Watts looks like a future third down pass rusher where everybody, if you play him, he's the guy that everyone in the crowd is going to be like, all right, this is Marquise Watts time. This is third and medium. This is third and long. Let's get Marquise Watts on the field. I'm not saying it's perfect. Obviously, Cody Mauch, their draft pick that's starting on the offensive line, is still a work in progress. Payne Durham has showed up, not really showed out by any means. But I'm intrigued and I'm optimistic about this rookie class already, whether it's big impact guys like Kalijah Cansey and YaYa Diaby, whether it's undrafted guys coming in and making an impact here and there with Kayvon Merriweather and with Marquise Watts. I think there are some things to really like about this group, and we'll see how they continue to develop moving forward. Because, Scott, you talked about it for the season. Jason Light had to have a home run type of draft class this season, especially with, the JTS draft class really flaming pretty badly, flaming out like pretty quickly. And so I just wanted to give a quick shout out to this rookie group because I like the direction that they're heading in.
Yeah, I mean, and they need more playing time so we can really accurately judge them, right? That's the thing. And they're not going to get better unless they play more. And you guys came to play as well. Just a shout out to a couple of people here. Old school from Clemson, South Carolina. I'm not sure if you're a Tigers fan, but you saw a great win by the Clemson Tigers against Drake May and the North Carolina Tar Heels. On Saturday. That was a big win right there for that. So we appreciate you checking in there, old school. Chris Oxentine from my old stomping grounds, Overland Park, Kansas. Always appreciate your comments and your attendance. That's awesome. Also in America, but way out yonder from Florida, especially. Howard's from Hawaii. Kel's 808. We appreciate you checking in. Yeah. And also, I was out in Wyoming, went to Yellowstone during bye week. And so Cheyenne, Wyoming, out there, Aaron Jenkins, hello. We appreciate you tuning in as well. Around the state of Florida, Cowpie, Florida. Is that even a city? I've never heard of Cowpie before. Yeah, so I just thought it was interesting. So I wanted, is Cowpie just a person? Is that a real city in Florida? I know there's a Tampa, Florida, right? Yeah. And there's also a Tampa, Kansas. There's two Tampas in the country, and one's in Kansas, one's in Florida. Never heard of Cowpie, Florida, but it sounds interesting. And then Barry Moore. I'm not sure what time it is, but out there in Australia, Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne.
Yeah. G'day, mate. Boy, that's so tired what I just did there. But at the same time, we appreciate you and every Pewter person who's tuning in live, or if you're watching the podcast, thank you very much. Make sure that you give us a thumbs up, hit the like button, and also leave us a comment. We like to
Yeah.
go through the comments and answer some questions sometimes when we don't get to you from during the podcast itself to your questions, because we have so many great questions and so many awesome comments. But we do have a rule, Matt, when it comes to questions and comments.
Yeah, if you super chat us, we get to your questions and comments first. By the way, last thing, great turnout during roll call, but also great turnout by people that weren't able to watch live and then put their location after the show as well. If you guys want to do that again, that was really cool to see. But on with the show. Thank you to LDBC's Most Wanted for the $4.99 super chat, who says, Saludos PR. Do you think Carlton Davis will ever make a tackle? I love Light, but signed Carlton Davis 3 and Dean to big money. Carlton Davis III to big money, but they have played terribly. Yeah, Carlton is turning into one of those cornerbacks that loves to play coverage, but hates to, play the run and tackle and physicality. If I'm if I'm an offense, I'm specifically designing sweeps and runs to the outside at Carlton Davis, because maybe it's that injury that really flared up for him.
There's Carlton right there.
And of course, he suffered a hip injury in this game.
Yeah.
But Carlton is just bad at open field tackling. He is not a good tackler by any means. And the longer he gets into his career, the less he's going to do it. Yeah. So I would, if I'm the Colts, I'm running plays right at him.
Yeah, if he plays, and we'll find out later if that's the case. Back to this point though, I love Light, but signing him and signing both these guys to big deals, I get that. I do. At the same time, you can only go by the evidence that you have right there. There's no crystal ball. There's no crystal ball when it comes to signing a draft pick, if they're going to pan out or not. And it's the same thing too. There are some players where when you pay them, give them that big second contract, some guys feel so compelled and so much pressure to go out there and earn it. They actually end up ascending and continuing to play either at that level or higher. And a lot of those guys, I can rattle off a couple names. You might have heard of them: Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Rondé Barber, right? I mean, those are Hall of Famers because they continue to ascend when they got that second and third. And sometimes if you're Rondé Barber and you play 16 years, Matt, how many contracts he got? 7 contracts, because he signed a bunch of one-year deals at the end. But those are what great players end up doing, is they continue to ascend. And sometimes you give guys money and it changes them and they lose a little bit of the fire, and it's human nature. We all have to fight against complacency, but I got the Super Bowl ring, check. I got the big payday, check. And I'm not saying Carlton Davis or Jamel Dean are like that. I'm not calling them out in that respect. I'm just saying some players are like that. And they kind of settle for complacency, especially when it's the same message from the same coaching staff, et cetera. Listen, the guys that we're talking about, Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, Devin White, they all helped the Buccaneers win a Super Bowl.
They did.
They all played really, really good back in 2020. It's the same message from the same defensive play caller, from the same position coaches. And sometimes that message gets stale. Sometimes it gets lost. And I'm not making excuses for anybody, but I'm just saying, that's a reality. You have an obligation to live up to your contract. And if you're not, then you need to, no one's going to take a pay cut voluntarily, but the team might ask you to take one, or they're going to cut you as a salary cap casualty. And I wouldn't be surprised if Carlton Davis ends up getting cut next year, because this team can save some money and maybe go in a different direction. If you're not going to do two things, stay healthy and play in just about all the games. And number two, if you're not going to make plays in the ball, get interceptions, next.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up the thing about not having a crystal ball, because at the time when Carlton was a free agent, everybody wanted Carlton back. Yeah. They were mad that Carlton didn't get the franchise tag. Why didn't you franchise tag Carlton Davis? And then when they re-signed him, everybody was ecstatic.
Right.
Everybody wanted Jamel Dean to get back. Everyone had said their farewells. Every single Bucs fan, and everyone's like, "There's no way he's coming back." And everyone was through the roof when Jamel Dean came back. So I don't know. I think it's kind of bogus at times when people are like, "Why would they ever make that signing?" When 3 years ago, everyone was like, "Yeah, they re-signed Carlton Davis." So it's easy to look at it on the other side of the fence. I think you can even go as far back as to when the Bucs were drafting Jameis. It was like every single talking head and scout and analyst said Jameis Winston is the de facto number 1 pick. And if not, then it's Marcus Mariota. And you can't look at it a couple years later and be like, what were the Bucs thinking drafting Jameis Winston? It's like everyone was going to take Jameis that first pick. Same thing with everyone wanted them to bring back Carlton Davis. And it's not working out this year, but it doesn't mean that they were wrong at the time for re-signing Carlton Davis. Now you just have to make an adjustment in present day, to your point of either releasing him at some point or at least finding out what he's going to bring for the rest of the season. But good comment nonetheless. Let's keep it moving with these super chats because you guys were great with the super chats. Shaggy, with the $2 super chat, says, is it loyalty to his players or stubbornness? This is specifically talking about Todd Bowles just not making adjustments, not playing YaYa more than Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, things of that nature. I think his it's stubborn how loyal he is to his players, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like intertwined in this one.
No, I agree. And again, he gets to decide. It's his team in that regard. So he gets to decide who plays in his defense and how much. And he's going to have to live with the consequences. And right now, I think his decisions are hurting himself as a head coach who's running out of time. And I think they're hurting this team, which is running out of time to make the playoffs this year and have a chance at winning the division, man.
One thing I always have time for is time to have a Celsius energy drink, which is the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. There's so many great flavors. Check out the new one, the Cosmic Vibe. I've been having the sparkling orange pomegranate lately. And of course, the Arctic Vibe is my personal favorite. There's no sugar, no post crash or jitters that you might get with another energy drink out there. So if you need to know where to find one, go to the Celsius store locator on their website. Punch in your address and it'll tell you where you can pick one up. It could be a local Walmart, Target, Health and Fitness store, or your bodega, Scott.
Bodega.
And once you keep going to your bodega and you know you love Celsius and you just want more, you want it in bulk maybe, you can get it in bulk. That's when you go over to Amazon, click on the subscribe and save. I'd recommend getting the variety pack because variety is the spice of life. And there's so many awesome flavors of Celsius. You can have it sent to your residence whenever you want. You're in charge of that. It could be a week, month, quarterly, yearly. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks. Make Celsius your number 1 pick, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. Let's keep these super chats rolling. There's the comments. Callie Bucks, thank you for this super chat of $4.99, who says, Bowles is not loyal to Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. This front office plays first-round picks too long. Exhibit A, look at how long it took to end the Winston experiment.
No, I can tell you that's not the case. Winston got 5 years because he's a franchise quarterback, pick number 1 overall, and he showed signs of life. I mean, the guy was a prolific passer.
There were 30 touchdowns to those 30 interceptions.
Exactly. It just, if they could just rein in the mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reason why, you got to remember, Bruce Arians came here. He wanted to work with Jameis. That was part of the lure of him coming out of retirement. It was a chance to work with him as the quarterback whisperer. And then, when he threw that final pick 6 on the first play of overtime against the Falcons in that 2019 season finale, that was it. And Bruce said, man, 30 interceptions with 33 touchdowns. I can't fix him. And that's why Jameis has not been a starting quarterback, because he can't get rid of the interceptions. Look at when he comes in, throws a couple touchdowns in relief of Derek Carr and gets the Saints right back in that game, and then throws 2 killer fourth quarter interceptions. That's who he is. But if you look at a lot of the other players that Jason Light has moved on from quickly, Roberto Aguayo, a second-round pick he traded up for, right? 1 year, boom, gone. Matt Gay, turned into a good kicker, but missed a lot of crucial kicks, including a couple in that Falcons game we were talking about, 2019. Drafted another kicker, moved on.
MJ Stewart, I think, is another guy. He was a second-round pick before Carlton Davis, I might add, and they kind of moved on from him pretty quickly.
Yep. Michael Johnson, Josh McCown, Anthony Collins. He's not a very patient general manager, and he drafts the players. It's up to the coaches when they play. And, Jason has not seen eye to eye with Todd about some things. He's not seen eye to eye with Bruce about some things. He's not seen eye to eye with Cutter and Lovey about things. And that's okay. And I'm not saying Jason's always right either. That's not the case. But this is not a mandate where Jason Light is saying you will play Joe Tryon-Shoyinka because he's a first-round pick. That is not Jason's MO. He will cut bait and move on to the next guy. And listen, I called out Logan Hall and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka in a new Pewter Pulse video.
Yep.
You can watch it here on Pewter Report TV. I think it's worth 5 minutes of your time. At the same time, they drafted Kalijah Cansey, Matt, because Logan Hall wasn't showing signs of life, right? Yep. And they drafted YaYa Diaby because Joe Tryon-Shoyinka wasn't showing signs of life. So he has a next mentality. If you're not producing, he's not afraid to draft your replacement the next year. And I think that's a good thing for a general manager. I've seen the general manager in Rich McKay hang on to Eric Curry for 5 years when Eric Curry, he was a bust in year one. So.
By the way, Logan Hall outsnapped Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey. I know Vita Vea was dealing with an illness, so maybe that's one reason why, but that's still asinine.
I agree.
He outsnapped him. But Eric Moreno has a $10 super chat. Thank you, Eric, who says, chances Levante David plays Sunday. We need at least Davis or Dean. Man. I'm pretty sure Wirfs will play. He came into the game. Would you be surprised if David and Davis play Sunday? We need David. And your thumb is a full go. Yeah, you had injured your thumb the other day or yesterday. Glad that your thumb's doing better. You know, Todd Bowles didn't really have too much of an update on Levante and all those guys. I'll play the video real quick for you.
Yeah. Todd, are there any updates on your 3 injured defensive starters, Levante, Carlton, and Jamel?
They're pretty sore right now. They're still getting tests run, so we have an answer as soon as the tests come back.
Are all 3 getting MRIs?
Yes.
And then he got injured? Do you know exactly when he was hurt?
No, they were 2 different things. He got hurt on the touchdown pass, the long touchdown pass.
Is Jamel's injury more of a foot or an ankle injury?
It's an ankle.
Ankle?
He came out, but he came back in. What's his status right now? How's he doing?
He's pretty sore, but it's Monday. We'll give it a chance to go toward the end of the week. Tristan's a pretty tough guy.
What is he dealing with?
He's dealing with a leg.
A leg. That's great.
Yeah. So based on those responses from Todd Bowles, I'd be surprised out of the 3 defensive starters. I'd be surprised if all 3 are back for this game. I mean, we know the injury history between Carlton and Jamel Dean. Yeah. So I'd be surprised if both of them were able to go.
I agree.
And this is just speculation. I'm not pointing to anything directly. The big question is Levante. I mean, Levante has a pretty high pain tolerance, but this team is going to be in a world of trouble if Levante David doesn't play. I like the idea of Servassier Dennis, but again, he's a rookie. And the biggest thing that Levante does more than anything else is clean up the mistakes of Devin White. And I'm not expecting Devin White, maybe because he's playing the Colts and he'll have horses on the mind. He'll get up and gallop and
I love that, man.
Play like the 2020 Devin White. But he may do it for a game. He did it against Tennessee, but he doesn't do it consistently. That's the most terrifying thing is if Levante David can't play. And based on what he said about Tristan Wirfs, sounds like Tristan probably won't practice on Wednesday, but maybe you'll see him on Thursday or Friday. I think they're going to give him a lot of time to heal. Yeah,
exactly. And, there was a comment in there. I want to say it was from King Cook. Servassier Dennis didn't exactly come in and light it up. I agree. He missed 2 tackles. He made 2. He missed 2. But this was a guy that missed the last 2 preseason games with a hamstring injury. And I'm just curious. I want to see what he can do with more reps and if he can get comfortable in the field and make some plays. He made a lot of plays in training camp, especially in coverage, all those pick sixes. So for a guy like Todd Bowles that likes to spot drop his linebackers, Matt, in zone coverage, this is a guy that can read and react pretty well and pick off some passes. So we'll see. Don't know if he can play or not. Don't know what caliber player he is. Let's find out.
By the way, this is what Todd Bowles had to say about Devin White and if they need more production from Get Live 45.
Yeah, part of getting more money, getting a second contract is production, right? Like what are you producing for us? When you see your middle linebacker out there for 60 plays and he gets 3 tackles, and Servassier comes in and gets a pair just in 17 snaps, do you need more production from Devin White, especially if Levante might miss some time? Doesn't Devin have to be more productive for you?
the defense has to be more productive. It's not just Devin, it's everybody's got to produce more. When you lose a starter, everybody has to make more plays. We don't sit and compare. Somebody could come in 2 plays and have 2 sacks. That don't mean we're going to play them 50 plays.
Yeah.
You know, they have productive things when they do them, but there's a reason that they're not playing. So we're happy with everybody, the way they're playing. We got to get more production out of everybody. We know that.
It appeared to be his responsibility there. Would you expect more from him at this juncture? I know he kind of had a similar situation with Najee Harris last year against the Steelers, and it was the other side of the field, but same type of thing. Just would you expect more from him?
I thought it was a good play call on their part. They caught us out there when he shuffles out to one side and goes back the other day and he gets picked off. There's not much you can do there. We can change the call and do a better job as coaches, but that was a tough play and it was a very good call on Kyle's part.
People, if there was any time to start playing underdog fantasy, tonight's Monday Night Football game would be the time to do it as we get a Super Bowl rematch. It's the Chiefs against the Eagles. I am tired of watching bad football. All right. The Bucs are a 4-6 team. I'm tired of hearing my friends from New York bitch about the Jets. Florida State was the one thing that was going well for me. And then Jordan Travis got hurt. And they got a backup play. Yeah, that was a horrible injury. I feel so bad for him. But I'm going to have some fun tonight watching good football between the Chiefs and the Eagles. So if you're unfamiliar to underdog fantasy, tonight's a great night to start getting involved with it. Their pick'em is so much fun. You make at least 2 picks in the game, 1 player on each side, but you can do up to 5 players and win up to 20 times your money. You're just making some picks on whether it's higher or lower on receiving yards or passing yards or number of touchdowns for a player. You can do this all at Underdog Fantasy using the promo code Pewter. That's PEWTER. Get a first deposit bonus. Also, check out their in-game tournaments, their rivals, and like I said, the pick'em is a great time. And they have it for all sports, too, not just football, even though we know football is the best sport out there. So Underdog Fantasy, use the promo code Pewter, that's PEWTER, and start playing, start winning.
Yep.
Get to some more super chats. Paul, a.k.a. Florida Dreamhouse, with the $5 super chat says, "This is a victory Monday. Why? My Celsius arrived and it's delicious.
There you go.
Thank you, PR. As for the Bucs, I still believe the NFC South is ours. And BM will be back." I don't get that.
I don't know what that means.
But regardless, I agree. Love all the other points you made. Congrats on the Celsius. You were one of our winners.
Yep.
We did the Celsius giveaway a couple of weeks ago. And I mean, we said it before. If there was any game to lose, it was this game against the 49ers with the other teams being on a bye. And the way that the other teams have played, Derek Carr still in concussion protocols. So that means you might get Jameis for next week.
Yeah.
The Falcons have lost 3 in a row, and to bad teams, including.
And they're going back to Desmond Ridder now. So.
And they're back to Desmond Ridder. So
who is 2-0 against the Buccaneers, though, mind you.
Fair.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, Matt. Appreciate that, Paul, and congrats on the Celsius. Great product.
Tommy Leverone with the $4.99 super chat. Thanks, Tommy. Says, "Hey guys, I want to see YaYa more. He is more productive than Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. I would like to see YaYa Diaby more going forward. I like the potential, and I feel like you might be onto something. Just continuously saying
YaYa Diaby.
It is fun to say, and like
it is.
I do have it in my head every time I'm typing it out. I'm saying it on the show here. But I'm with you, Tommy. Got to see more of YaYa. He right now, arguably, is your best outside linebacker, but we'll say he's your second best outside linebacker. At the moment. Get YaYa playing more. It's Todd Bowles' job is on the line if they do not make the playoffs. So
agreed.
There's no point in protecting guys like JTS and Devin White and things of that nature.
Especially when it hurts you.
I get you're not going to bench Devin because you don't really have many other options, especially with Levante down. But you have that opportunity with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka.
Yeah.
JTS and Anthony Nelson are used to playing as a unit anyway. So why not?
Is hitting the super chat, so he's gonna skip the line here, but I'm gonna pull rank and we're gonna do this because King Cook, you nailed it here. See, that's the problem. Instead of Bowles calling Devin out, they just pacify the situation. This is why Devin will keep playing like this. Yes, exactly right. You nailed it, King Cook. Great comment there. This is like parenting. If you don't discipline the child, you have to expect the same bad behavior. And And it's one thing to call out Devin in front of his teammates, and if you do that a couple times, and I think Bowles does that in meetings, it only has a certain amount of effect. Sometimes, and Bruce Arians was the master of this, he would call out Tom Brady sometimes, and that made news because everyone's like, "Oh my God, you called out Tom Brady!"
Yeah.
Why not? He's one of 53 guys on the roster. What makes Tom so special? If he plays bad, sometimes you got to say it, and sometimes it lights a fire publicly. Players don't want to be scorned in public, and sometimes, hey, listen, I'm all in favor of pushing any button you can to get players to play better, and this is a button that Bowles just simply refuses to push. Great comment.
Yeah, for whatever reason, he doesn't. Brian Fisher, real quick, says, want to get an early start? I'm a truck driver out of Pasco County, just entering Georgia. Go Bucs, go Pewter Report. You're the best. Brian, thank you so much for spending your drive by listening to us.
Awesome.
That is, that's so great, and we thank you for it. Spider-Man with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you to Spider-Man. Says, I may be alone, but I say give Bowles another season. Unless the coach loses the locker room, he should get 3 seasons to make the team successful and re-sign Baker too. Now, I know it's like been the history of the Clippers that they give a guy 2 seasons. I'm not saying that they should give it to Todd Bowles. Let's just say, let's let the season play out. But maybe sometimes 2 seasons isn't enough to get an idea of a certain head coach. I always go back to Jason Licht. Jason, under other ownership, would not be around to even be in a position to sign Tom Brady, but Bruce Arians, which started the domino effect to get Tom Brady. With Todd Bowles, though, I mean, there's so many things you can point to that says, like, yes, his defense is great, but why isn't he playing this guy and this guy? Why isn't he calling a timeout? Why did he call a timeout there? There's certain in-game management stuff that I think can be replaceable. And again, getting a young offensive mind, I don't think is the worst idea either. Yeah,
I'm with you on that. The other thing I'll add too is Bowles hasn't lost the locker room. The players genuinely like playing for the guy. This team plays hard. They fight. There's some redeeming qualities there. But if you're the Blazers, I think you have to look at it and say, where's the progress? And I think the progress this year, and I said it in a Pewter Pulse video. I encourage you all to go check that out. It came out last night. It might be more than just winning the NFC South. Check out the video for more.
Yeah, there you go. Eric Moreno, thank you for another super chat. You asked this before, but we appreciate it getting our attention again. Chances Levante, David, Dean, and Davis all play on Sunday. The chances of all 3 playing, I would say, are very slim.
I agree.
Are very, very slim. Chances of 2 or 3, 2 out of the 3, I don't know. The 50-50, it'll be tough. We'll find out more on Wednesday. When we're at practice, and I'm sure there'll be another update before we even get to practice.
And my guess is these guys will come down to game time decisions probably, unless they just don't practice, and then we'll have an early indication Wednesday and Thursday of what's going to happen on Sunday.
Meets McGee with the $5 super chat. Thanks, Meets McGee. And they say players were relied on have not shown up. White, JTS, Neal, both cornerback spots not doing it, and there's players we have just not good, like Robert Hainsey. Yeah, I mean, I think especially when you're playing against great teams like San Francisco, you need players to step up and just make plays. And I think, not mentioned here, but Cade Otton with the drop in the end zone, Devin Tompkins had an opportunity to make a catch in the end zone. You need those plays in those moments, and they just didn't get it.
Yep, totally agree.
Another one from Meets McGee, a $2 super chat, as Meets McGee says, to make 45 Devin White's play look even worse, Warner took over. Yeah, Fred Warner was all over the place.
10 solo tackles, 12 combined tackles, half a sack, 2 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. Okay, I mean, that's filling out the stat sheet. That's impact. That's what you're looking for in a Pro Bowl caliber inside linebacker that you're paying big time money to. And Devin White thinks he's that guy, and he's just not. There's no evidence that he is even in the realm of Fred Warner. There just isn't. And I'm not saying that to hurt Devin's feelings or publicly shame him, but it's like, man, the film doesn't lie. The effort, I mean, shed a block, man. Like show some heart and go out there and fight through things and make plays. Just gets blocked too easily. I think he's out there making some business decisions. He doesn't want to get hurt, and I get it. He's been dealing with a foot injury, groin injury. Nobody's at 100% this time of year. You got to fight through things and have some pride, and you got to play, especially in a contract year, man. I'm trying to help you out by telling you what you got to do to get paid, and just not listening.
He's all glory, but no guts.
Yeah.
You know, like he likes flying around. He
Yeah.
likes the big sack plays, but it's the nitty gritty stuff where the Bucs really need him, and they just they haven't really gotten that from that end of Devin White. Got a $5 super chat from Vice. Thank you very much for the super chat. If you have a further comment, we're happy to put it on the screen. But very much, thank you very much. Paul clarifying before BM Baker Mayfield.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry, it was a late night for Pewter Report. These 4 o'clock games are almost like night games, right? I mean, the sun goes down at halftime now with daylight savings and stuff. We were up burning the midnight oil after the game. There's another guy, too, that I want to really kind of highlight that burns the midnight oil, that really gets the job done in crunch time, and that's Eric Gross with the Eric Gross Group. Gotten to know Eric. This guy he's a Pro Bowl caliber real estate agent. He's also the official realtor of Pewter Report. And I've really enjoyed every interaction I've had with him. Thankfully, I like my house. I'm not in the market for a new one per se, but if I was, this would be the guy I would turn to for a couple reasons. Number one, let's start with the fact he's an avid Pewter Report reader. He watches the Pewter Report podcast. You're going to be dealing with a real estate agent for a while until you buy or sell that home. And it's all about a relationship. It's forming a friendship with a person you're trusting to either get you the most money for your house or help you find your dream home. And it starts there. Hey, I'm a Pewter Report reader. I'm a Tampa Bay fan, and go from there. This is a guy, and Eric, that is a Tampa native. His dad was stationed at McDill Air Force Base. But more importantly, he's got the market knowledge and the top-notch communication, the commitment to excellent service. That's what sets he and his Eric Gross Group apart. They're part of the eXp Realty Group with the network of 85,000 agents. So if you're moving into Florida or leaving the state of Florida, they can help you on both ends of the transactions, buying and selling your home. And what I'm asking you to do, check out their website, Houses in FLA. It's got a great layout. You can check out their inventory. You can do it 24/7 at the comfortability of your own time and place where you want to do that at, or give Eric a call. 513-907-4271. That's 513-907-4271. Let the Eric Gross Group take the pressure off. No matter where you are in your home ownership journey, you're going to feel welcome with the Eric Gross Group, the official realtor of Pewter Report. Again, visit housesinfla.com.
Shaggy just said, UPS just delivered my Celsius. Thanks, PR.
There we go.
Awesome.
2 for 2.
There
Shaggy
we go.
and I think
Paul.
Yeah, Paul. Who was the other one? Jefferson Tugboat?
Yes, that was the first one.
Okay, yeah.
So let us know, Jefferson, if you're on a chat soon enough.
Yep.
But we got another super chat this time from Mark Fisher, Rev Fish, who says, I believe that meant to say SR. I like the pulse. At the same time, without Brady, with no expectations, and in cap hell, would not a 9-8 be considered a good improvement?
Yeah. So the premise of this new Pewter Pulse about Todd Bowles' future, will he stay or will he go, is really about what the Glazers see and how much does Todd Bowles have to do to stay in Tampa. And I don't know, because the Glazers don't talk during the season. They talk once a year, really, at the NFL owners meeting, which you and I will be at, Matt. I think it's in Orlando this year.
It is
in the off season, which is nice, just down the road. So having said that, there's 2 things. Has Todd Bowles shown enough progress? And what is progress? Is it getting 9 wins, which is 1 more than a year ago? Does he have to win the division again? Or is being a 9-8 wild card, is that a step back, right? Does he have to win a playoff game, right? Is that the progress that Glazers want to see, because they lost 1 last year? So whatever that is, the Glazers have to look at that and say, has he done enough to continue pushing this thing forward? The second thing is, long-term, is this the guy that can take us to another Super Bowl and win it? That's the other part of the equation, because if not, what are you doing? You're settling for mediocrity. You're settling for good when you really need great. And that's something else that Glazers have to really take into consideration. The good news, Matt, is they just came off a Super Bowl a couple years ago. They know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Right? This is different than having John Gruden and then going through Raheem Morris and Greg Schiano and Lovie Smith and Dirk Cutter. At some point in time, you forget what it looks like, right? because it's been you're a decade away from winning, and you don't even remember what it was like. But now with Bruce Arians, you remember what it was like. And now you've got 2 Super Bowl winning head coaches, John and Bruce. And both of those guys were offensive minded. Both those guys were a little on the volatile accountability side, really demanding coaches, vocal coaches. I'm not saying that that's the only way to win, but you're certainly 2-0 with that approach here in Tampa. And they'll have to make that determination. Has Todd Bowles done enough to push this thing forward and keep progress? And then is he the right guy that eventually, once we build another Super Bowl caliber roster, can he get it across the finish line?
All I'll say is if they end up winning the division, and whether it's 8-9, 9-8, 7-10, if they win their first round playoff matchup, which again would be quite difficult.
Yeah.
It's very tough to justify firing a coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Won a playoff game last season.
Exactly.
Meets McGee with the $5 super chat. This is off subject. Scott, did the 80s produce the greatest group of running backs?
The 80s produced the greatest hair bands for sure. I'm a big hairband aficionado, right? I got to meet Bon Jovi at the East West Shrine practice. That was really cool. That's probably a Pewter Pulse topic for another day in the off season. That was a fantastic. And John's a huge football fan. We actually talked for about 30 minutes. That was fun. So setting the hair bands aside, to answer your question, I grew up Washington Redskins fan. I had a John Riggins jersey I wore every single day when I lived in Northern Virginia. That's where I was born. In second grade, I wore that jersey every single day. But the thing is, back then, the running game was a staple. If you didn't have a 1,000-yard running back, you had no chances of making the playoffs. You were not going to the Super Bowl, et cetera. So it was a different time back then, a different era. At the same time, I mean, there's still some hella good running backs. It's a position where you have to pass protect. You've got to be able to do that. You got to be a factor in the passing game, and it requires more dual threat ability. You got to be able to run it and catch it. And so therefore, I think the running backs have become a little bit more interchangeable and a little bit less important. And you're seeing that reflected in these guys not getting paid as much. I love a good running game as much as anybody, but it's almost like a little bit of a bygone era. It's coming back now, but you don't have to have that stud running back like you used to. Yeah.
And by the way, Bon Jovi, he used to own the Arena Football League team, the Philadelphia Soul, or at least was a part-time owner. So,
with Ron Jaworski,
big-time football fan. Yep. Another super chat from Eric Moreno. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Would you be surprised if David and Davis practice? Yeah, I would, especially because later on in the season, guys practice less and less just because the war of attrition of playing football on a daily basis. So, yeah, I think Thanksgiving, Thursday, will probably be more of an indicator of who has a chance to play in the game and who doesn't.
The other thing, too, is you look at the injuries. David with the groin, and you've got Carlton Davis with that hip injury.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's going to the only thing that's going to help those is rest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't see them playing in the game. I'd be very surprised unless it was like a little tweak for Levante and he's feeling much better, or I don't know. I'm not holding out hope that these guys play.
I would hope, though, I said this on the other show, but I'll say it again. I would hope that you guys, if you're not already doing so, please follow Pewter Report on all of our social media. We're at Pewter Report on X, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Then, of course, our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV, where we are putting out content after content after content. So make sure you subscribe to Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe to this video. Leave a comment as well. Great interaction with the fans on a daily basis on our YouTube channel, so want to keep that going. Just a reminder, no show tomorrow, no show on Thursday as well because of Thanksgiving, but we will have a show on Wednesday where we preview Bucs versus Colts, and of course we'll have the Pewter Game Day show on Sunday and the Pewter Post Game show as well. But that's going to do it for us on this afternoon show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you on Wednesday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.